It's April 7. In a way, today is opening day. Some of you know what I'm talking about. I think there's something going on down in San Francisco today. But it's a big day for the ERC as well. In a way, it's an opening day on something we've been focused on for a long time. So I'm going to share a little bit of thoughts with you about why before we take a break, and then our featured speaker after, Scott Lynette, is going to go into some great detail around the Green Screen Institute. First off, though, I'd like to thank current ERC Chair Lynn Wilson, past Chair Lisa Swarthout, and Chair-elect Mary Owens for their leadership, along with all of the Executive Committee members and our Board of Directors for their active involvement. Thank you all. We couldn't be where we are today without that energy and expertise. When I came on board as the executive director of the ERC a little over 2 years ago, it was largely because I could readily see the numerous attributes that make Nevada County a great place to live and work. I remember my initial experience in Nevada County was at an event I co-hosted with the ERC put on in 1998 at the Holbrook Hotel, where I first met Dan Castle, Scott Robertson, and Judy Hess. I could tell even then that this place had a special feel about it. On multiple occasions in past economic cycles, Nevada County also achieved economic greatness in addition to livability greatness. For quite some time, however, like many other communities, counties, and regions across the U.S., its economy has struggled. I'm sure we've all observed or experienced either ourselves, family, or friends directly or indirectly the impacts of the economic downturn. Over the past year, the ERC, with the support of dozens of community stakeholders, putting in significant time, energy, and resource, in most cases as volunteers, into identifying a path you will hear about to regain the economic greatness in Nevada County with a bold and ambitious approach. Many of you have often heard me speak about the importance of growing the economic pie. Can we go back to that? I can just talk about it then. One more. Is that the only other one? All right, this is easy anyway. If you like pizza or pie, this will make perfect sense to you. So our economic pie theory is that we want to go from a medium to a large, or from a large to an extra large. And when that happens, we grow that economic pie, and it brings more income and better opportunities for our businesses, our governments, our nonprofit institutions, and our individuals. Different from strategies that simply redistribute the slices of an economic pie, where one business's gain or one employee's gain would be one's misfortune. And you can take off this particular slide. Thank you. In addition, I've often talked about Nevada County being a global center of excellence. So to reiterate, the ERC is squarely focused on efforts that will grow that economic pie. We grow that pie best when entrepreneurial companies located in Nevada County sell products or services outside of the region on a multi-state, national, or global basis. Companies like Telestream are representative of this. Or when positive brand recognition is established on a national or global scale that attracts visitors to concerts, film and music festivals, outdoor recreation, and the like, or when it attracts families or individuals to move here and bring their talents and, well, their disposable income. The challenge ahead of us on this journey for economic greatness is that communities, counties, and regions all over the U.S. and internationally take economic development very, very seriously. It is a very competitive environment we are operating within. What we are embarking upon is neither a game nor simply a civic engagement exercise. It is real, and it's real important. As a rural community, our resources are limited in comparison to urban behemoths. While it's not a game, having limited resources, in some ways we must view our efforts like a chess match and be more strategic and smarter in the way we pursue economic greatness versus the hundreds and even thousands of competitor communities, regions, and countries. I digress here a little bit, but it's relevant. I'm a partner in 2 small angel investor funds with a gentleman who was a very successful entrepreneur, being the CEO of multiple major technology corporations. In addition, he was a very successful angel investor who was an early investor in Google, PayPal, OpenTable, and many others. So I have the opportunity every week to spend some time with him over the phone. This is very insightful for me and very relevant to our conversation because he talks about the importance of building fences around the competition when he's grown businesses or invested in them. This can occur through a variety of means, such as intellectual property, exclusive partnerships and customer relationships, or having a world-class team with a deep domain expertise. This is relevant because the notion of building fences around our competition is, in this case, around our competition in economic development and those efforts across the country. It is critical that we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace for jobs, business, and wealth creation. As you may know, since June of last year, with grant resources from the U.S. Department of Commerce, along with local matching contributions and resources from a vast number of people who are involved here today, we've been working on creating that differentiated, sustainable strategy. Reference to the Sierra Digital Media Campus has been frequently noted in the media as a linchpin of that strategy. As of last week, it's been renamed the Green Screen Institute. As I noted, our keynote speaker after the break, Scott Lynette, will go into details about the what and the why and the implications. Suffice to say, it's very exciting and groundbreaking. Meanwhile, at the ERC, we're going to be in the process of building the fences that will create market differentiation and competitive advantage for us moving forward in the years ahead. Some examples include, and right to Mary's point, a recent comprehensive workforce skills analysis of 50 technology employers, 25 in Nevada County, 25 in neighboring counties, to give us in-depth current insight on the skills needs for technology companies. That information is going to feed directly into a technology training academy that is intended to be part of the Green Screen Institute in collaboration with local K-12, Sierra College, Chico State, and industry as well. Secondarily, another fence is around the incredible cost differential that exists here versus urban tech centers that serves as a daily stressor to many talented families, entrepreneurs, business owners, and even investors in those places. I'll relay as an example for startup companies because entrepreneurs has been mentioned by a number of our other communities as an area of focus. Most seed stage investments in startup technology companies are in the $500,000 to $1 million range. If you're located in San Francisco or Silicon Valley or LA or San Diego, that $500,000 to $1 million is not going to get you very far. It's not going to get you to that prototype, that first customer, and so forth. In Nevada County, we've got the opportunity to extend that runway for the companies that we assist to be a year or 2 years. That's very, very important. Third, creating a sector focus. Digital media is very broad, so it's vital that we carve out a niche that is authentic to the assets that we have in Nevada County, especially around the video technology industry and all of the creatives that we have here. Scott will go into some details about why we've picked what we think is really exciting, virtual reality and augmented reality as our focus. It's an explosive growth industry with huge opportunities and applications moving forward, and it's authentic to the opportunities here in Nevada County. A fourth that I don't want to underestimate is broadband. I mean, the efforts associated with Spiral Internet and their project is absolutely critical to the short and long-term competitiveness and a key fence for us in our competitive quest for jobs. I've heard the term from some engineers who've talked about it to me that it's better broadband than in the Bay Area. That is compelling and a unique differentiator for us. Fifth, growing companies requires access to world-class advisors so growth companies can get access to the expertise and networks they truly need that are difference-making. The people that have been secured locally and from industry to participate on our Global Advisory Board for Green Screen Institute are amazing. Just a few names. We've got representatives from Fandango, as an example, or Electronic Arts, Michael Eisner's from Disney's Venture Capital Fund. So when we're talking about growing an industry in digital media and within virtual reality and augmented reality, we're going for it here. There's huge opportunity to have expertise to help our companies grow. Another one is the potential for Nevada County to be a gateway location for international digital media companies who seek access to California markets, but who do not have the resources to pay San Francisco, Silicon Valley, or LA costs, and who are to date unaware of the great potential that exists in California. Behind the scenes, we've already started on an effort working on the possibility of an initiative starting with France and Chile. In fact, we, I believe, have a delegate technologist from France here today who actually has a really compelling virtual reality and augmented reality startup. So that will be another part of our strategy, is this international differentiation. Next, and only two more, we have tremendous arts and outdoors that we are all aware of, but it's very unique. Since we issued the news release and got some media attention about the Green Screen Institute, I've already had circumstances of a software developer from San Francisco who's worked for Autodesk and Adobe, who he and his girlfriend came up last weekend to visit a friend of hers, and the reason for that is she was going to take them on a hike around the Yuba River. He found out about what we were doing at the Green Screen Institute while having coffee at Caroline's Coffee, called me up, arranged for a tour of the facility, and has two different VR and AR startups that he's working on. And the reason is he wants to get out of the hustle and bustle of San Francisco because he couldn't get any code done, so he came up here before he went on the hike. Secondarily, the importance of East County and West County participation. The first place that our French delegation wanted to go after our lunch meeting with them yesterday wasn't a drive to Sacramento or the capital or San Francisco. Where do they want to go? Lake Tahoe, right? So there are unbelievable assets that we're packaging here. It would be remiss for me also not to say we have highly uncommon healthcare services for a county of about 100,000 people. I mean, that is a unique, important differentiator. And save the best for last, a differentiator for us in the amazing community we have here is the level of engagement from you all. I mean, 400 people here today is amazing. There is something in this effort for all of you, as Mary was alluding to. Your help is needed in terms of being ambassadors for this effort as we move forward, providing great customer service to the businesses that we seek to bring up here and the individuals and the like, talking to people in your business, family, and friend networks outside of Nevada County about what makes this place really unique, and then sharing your resources and expertise to the cause. In the end, when we are successful, because we're going to compete better than all those other communities and regions, it will come back to all of us in terms of more jobs for us and our children, more customers for our businesses, more philanthropy for our nonprofits, and more tax revenue for public services and local government. As of last week, we claimed our territory in a huge new economic frontier. When we stay the course, I'm certain we will strike 21st century gold, or it might be green. I'm going to have to borrow from Matt, the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
So our last speaker is Scott Lynette. Wish this microphone was taller. Scott brings a unique entrepreneur, investment, and digital media technology expertise to his role assisting the ERC with his strategic efforts associated with the Green Screen Institute. More recently, Scott co-founded Touchdown Ventures, which partners with leading corporations I've been talking too much today. Leading corporations to establish and manage their venture capital platforms. So I was talking to Scott a couple minutes ago, and with Touchdown Ventures as a name, you know they're into sports. And he shared this one quote with me, which I just think is fantastic. So his favorite moment is when Donovan McNabb threw for a first down on 4th and 26 against the Packers in the playoffs in 2004. He said basically anything can happen, just like in venture capital and in entrepreneurship. So when McNabb threw for a first down on 4th and 26, anything's possible. So I'd like to introduce, and let's give Scott a warm welcome.
Well, thanks for that fun intro. I lived in Sacramento for 8 years, and I really, really love it up here. So when John Gregory called and asked if Touchdown could help with the effort that has become the Green Screen Institute, we both saw a fit with what our corporate partners are doing in venture capital, and I personally thought that it would be fun. But having lived in Los Angeles for almost a decade now, which is a little bit hard for me to believe, I actually think of myself as an outsider here. So I wanted to start by giving you guys an outsider's 30,000-foot perspective of Nevada County. First, the gold rush. Right, I think this is probably the most tangible and obvious part of the legacy of this community. And you know, when you bring someone new to town, you walk downtown and drive around, and probably every fifth business you see has the word gold in it or some sort of reference to the gold rush. Second, the Grass Valley Group. So I started my venture capital career in the early 90s on the East Coast, and if you were in technology in any way, you knew who the Grass Valley Group was. And I think, you know, down to today, where the legacy of this amazing company has turned into all these wonderful spin-offs, John talked about the tremendous expertise that this region has in broadcast video and digital media that's a result of this. And that's it. That's what people from outside this region know about Nevada County. And if you're not in technology, you probably don't even know the second thing. So when John called us up and said, we want to change all that, that turned into this effort that we hope will be the third thing that people know, which is the Green Screen Institute. And as John mentioned, we're focused on a really exciting and extraordinary new technology area, virtual reality and augmented reality, and it's really designed to be an inclusive effort to bring everyone together, both inside of this region and in other parts of California, and really the rest of the world. So let's start with what virtual reality and augmented reality even are. And we really believe that this is the next great transformative or platform technology, whatever you want to call it, that years from now, when we look back, we're going to look at this period in time and these set of technologies and look at them the same way people looked at the personal computing revolution or the mobile computing revolution, and this has that type of size and potential to reach and change people's lives. So what are they? Probably all 400 of you had the chance to use that one headset all at once, but you know, this is typified by the Samsung Gear VR, which is an experience that lets you stick your mobile phone into a set of goggles and experience an incredible immersive world. So virtual reality are technologies that immerse you in that virtual world. We'll talk more about what that is. And augmented reality are technologies that augment the physical world with digital information. So if any of you ever saw the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, this was really one of the first times in popular culture where, you know, people are moving computing information around in the real world. And there are many applications like that. So how does this actually play out in the real world? How will this get used? Well, the first and most obvious areas are going to be in content development. And we deliberately use the term that it's game-changing because gaming is one of the most obvious areas where this comes into play. Obviously, all types of filmed entertainment have the potential to be changed with this type of immersion technology. And the other area where we think content is really strong would be in education. So when you have, for those of you who didn't all get to use the virtual reality goggles, I hope you'll try if we have time afterwards. And if not, I hope you'll try the experience as soon as you can. It's amazing. When one of my portfolio companies, which is a game studio called Seismic, put the goggles on my head for the first time and put me in a game simulation on top of a building and said, look up and you see the sky. Look behind you and you see the other buildings in the city. And they said, look down. And I looked off a 30-foot ledge because I was standing on top of a building. I stepped backwards. And you have that visceral feeling in your stomach. It's amazing. So this technology has incredible potential for games to put you in the world and make you feel like you're really, really part of the experience. Education, I think, is one of the most interesting applications, and it's one of the reasons why we decided that this would be a fit for Nevada County with the emphasis that people have here on education, the value of education. And I think back to an episode of The Simpsons that I saw probably 15 years ago, where Lisa Simpson had the opportunity to put some money into developing technology for schools, and she imagined a virtual reality simulation that today would be very real. So Lisa puts these goggles on, they snap into place, and suddenly she's in Inner Mongolia standing next to Genghis Khan. And Genghis Khan says, "Hi, Lisa, for the next hour, you're gonna go with me, Genghis Khan. And you'll go where I go, you'll eat what I eat, you'll kill who I kill, and defile what I defile." And that's real today. That's the educational experience that our kids are gonna have. So I think those are some of the obvious applications for virtual reality, but there's some non-obvious ones as well that really show why this is truly cross-platform and a cross-industry opportunity. So healthcare. We know that healthcare is a big deal here in Nevada County, and I think some of the the most interesting applications for this technology are in healthcare, patient care, mental care. There's a company that we saw a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles that is working with hospitals where they have a pain management solution and an anxiety management solution for both pre and post-surgery. And you can imagine that there's a lot of people who would say, "Give me the general anesthesia. I don't want to be awake during the surgery. I'm nervous about it." And then post-surgery, the pain that they're in, how do they manage through that? Usually you do this with drugs. So this is now an opportunity for those situations where you don't need it and you don't necessarily need to take the risk of general anesthesia to manage through that with another type of solution. We see opportunities in real estate. I think these are pretty simple to imagine. If you go to a real estate website now, you see these 360-degree walkthroughs. Imagine if you could actually physically move through the house and without actually being there. A great tool for real estate salespeople. Communications. When you think about the world of telepresence and video conferencing, imagine avatars or augmented reality visions of yourself where you could actually be in the same room with the other person. We've seen another company that sort of makes this technology, and they beam DJs across the world, from Asia to the United States and vice versa. They're on the stage, and people who are at the back of the audience say, "When is the augmented reality show going to start?" Because they think that the DJ is actually there in the real world. And this technology is continuing to improve at a pace where soon you'll be able to see those holograms, kind of in real life in the room with you like they're there. And that's going to change the way we Skype and interact with our friends and family around the world. The number of applications is really off the charts. We just saw a company yesterday. My partners in San Francisco saw a business that was in market research, and I think this is one of the more innovative things that we've seen, where consumer packaged goods companies can make a virtual simulation of the shelf. And as a market research tool, they will take consumers, they'll put them in front of that shelf, and ask them what they think and what they want to buy. It turns out that's 90% predictive of what consumers will actually do. So think about what supermarkets and retailers can do with technology like that, where they can actually tell, how should we set up our store? How should we stock it? Without actually having to take the risk of doing it in real life. It's pretty incredible. So this incredible technology has a number to it. And it has a lot of different numbers depending on whose you look at. Those numbers consist of both hardware and software, like all the other computer revolutions that I talked about. And they're anywhere from $20 to $35 to $80 billion or more over the next 5 years. This $80 billion number does include both hardware and software. These are Goldman Sachs' number. This would make it one of the fastest growing opportunities in history. And that, not surprisingly, is then something that my industry, venture capital, has picked up on and said, we want to be part of this. We want to fund the companies that are going to create this next wave of innovation. And this is a chart that shows both the number of deals in blue, which has risen from almost nothing to over 125 deals last year, to the amount of capital that's flowed into the industry, and we're getting close to $1 billion a year invested in this space. So what the venture capitalists are funding for the most part is the software side of the equation, and if you think about it, the hardware side of the equation is going to be dominated by big companies that are multinational global businesses. The icons at the bottom show the logos of the 5 most active venture capital investors in the world in this category. And not to sort of preview parts of the presentation for a couple minutes from now, but the 2 most active ones are on the left, and they've been nice enough to join our advisory board. We're very excited about that. So as John said, we want to talk about why we think this opportunity is specifically right for Nevada County. I think the comments that you made and the comments that Mary made before very naturally lead into this. We think that this is a community that's actually incredibly suited to help lead this next revolution and to benefit from it. And when we started the process, we came up and talked to the folks in the ERC, we talked to other folks in the community, and there were a set of goals, and they were pretty clear what everybody wanted. And one of the things was we want to create an engine for job growth. It was very clear. Everyone said we want more jobs here, but they also said we want jobs under control. And we don't want to change the character of what everybody loves about this community. We want it to happen within reason. We don't want to become, and there are names of other cities that you can think of, some nearby, some a little further away. We want to keep our charm that we have. But at the same time, you've used the term center of excellence, global center of excellence several times. And that really means we want relevance and we want relationships with communities outside of our immediate area. And that especially means San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and Los Angeles. So one of the things that we thought about was what types of opportunities could we pursue where those would be the most natural partners for this type of effort. So young people, jobs for young people. I think probably half the folks that we talked to said, my kids go to school, they move away to do it, and they never come back. And I wish they had an opportunity that they could come back for. So something that the next generation would look at and be excited by as a forward-looking opportunity was one of the aspects that had to be part of the plan. And then there was this concept of the fact that there's some wonderful things happening in Nevada County, in the arts community and the engineering community, and that we both wanted to leverage that from a perspective of making the activity something that could take advantage of the resources that were here, but also use those things that were here to benefit the new activity as well. And so that was a requirement. And then lastly, for this to create that engagement that's been talked about several times today, something that would pull the whole community together, including not only Grass Valley, Nevada City, but also Truckee, really uniting the whole county. So I don't know, has anyone in the audience ever seen a show on Comedy Central called Drunk History? So it's a pretty fun show. There's a guy who basically travels around the country. He gets his friends drunk, and he has them narrate interesting stories about history, and then actors are separately lip-syncing to what that drunk person is reading, and hilarity ensues. One of the things that I like about the show is that you actually learn something about history every time you watch the show. So I saw an episode recently that was essentially about the founding of Hollywood. And everyone loves to bash Thomas Edison now. It's very much in vogue. And so what most people don't know is that in the early 20th century, Thomas Edison had a lot of patents on movie making, and he thought that there was only one way to make movies. And you had to make movies his way. And all the movies were being made in New Jersey. And when someone else was making a movie that wasn't the type that he liked, he would send goon squads out to beat up the people who were making those movies. So obviously nobody liked that. So the guys who wound up founding Universal Studios moved out to Los Angeles basically to get away from Edison's goon squads. And this was the retreat. This was the, let's just get out of Dodge and move across the country and go someplace peaceful where we can do our thing. And that really resonates with me about this area. It really is the metaphorical cabin in the woods where the creator goes to create something. I think we think about, sort of the writer going out and writing the masterpiece, the great novel, whatever it is. But the idea that if you are going to focus on something, you need to be uninterrupted. And it's pretty hard to do that in a city. So, obviously the ability to collaborate often happens in a big city, but sometimes when you want to collaborate in smaller groups, a place like this is a great place to do it. So that was among what we considered when we said, why would this work here? And then one of the things that really struck us is that virtual reality and augmented reality are technologies that fundamentally are about storytelling, but they're very, very technical. And so the marriage of the left brain engineering orientation together with the right brain artistic community that are both so strong here in Nevada County was something that really struck us as an obvious reason why this would work. So we made a list of criteria. We actually looked at 10 different potential technology areas, and virtual reality and augmented reality scored far and away the highest as the one that would fit here and really had the greatest economic potential for this to be something that could slowly but surely benefit this region. So, so that's what we picked. We're all really excited about it, and then there have been a series of funding announcements in the space that show that it's really starting to pick up steam. You have products that have sold out in a single day when they've been announced within the last 3 months, and I think there's evidence that this is a market that is really starting to happen now. So who is going to help? I said that one of the things that was important was that this was something that could draw in partners from Southern California and other parts of Northern California, especially the Bay Area. And one of the things that John asked for when we kind of wanted to create that relevance was, how do you attract a truly world-class board of advisors for something like this? So that it wasn't just a bunch of us in a room, but major corporations and investors becoming part of an initiative that was going to benefit them too, as well as benefit us. So when we think about world-class, we really think about sort of who's number one, who's the best, who's the biggest, and that was the criteria that we used. And we've put together an advisory board that we think is really nice, that we're really proud of and excited to be a part of. And we have the 2 most active venture capital investors in this category in the world. We have the biggest hardware OEMs in the world. We have the biggest gaming and entertainment companies in the world. We have, as John said, Michael Eisner's personal fund, and Michael Eisner actually invests in content because he understands it from the days when he ran Disney. We have some of the most active talent agencies in the world. We have Technicolor, which is the largest post-production business in the world that takes filmed entertainment and puts it into the level of quality that we're all accustomed to seeing when we go to the movies. It's an amazing group. And that amazing group is anchored by some folks who are leaders in your community that you probably all know. So, Julie from the Center of Arts, Melinda from Wild and Scenic, Jesse from the Nevada City Film Festival. These are all incredible leading festivals that most people from outside this region don't know about, but were sort of mind-blowing to us when we experienced them for the first time. And it's that artistic community that really, I think, will resonate very much with the creators who are making content for all these devices. And when I talked to my friends at Samsung who agreed to be part of this effort, it was a really easy conversation because they said, we're making this platform that's going to be in the hands of consumers everywhere. And the technology is great, but somebody needs to make the software. And so when you we'll talk about this later, but when you imagine at these festivals, it's a natural place where people who are already creating other content may want to work with technologists who are experts in virtual reality and augmented reality. And it may also be a showcase for people who are creating new things in virtual reality and augmented reality to display what they've created. And then Dan, I think everyone knows Dan Castles from Telestream, one of the great leaders in this community, and really brings a discipline about how to think about this from a business perspective, what works locally, what types of needs there are in the workforce here, and just great mentorship for startups, having grown and managed Telestream the way he has. And then we have some outsiders. Susan Ahmad is really an extraordinary, outstanding individual. Susan is the creator of the Blackstone Launchpad curriculum, which behind Techstars is probably the single most replicated accelerator program in the world. And I've seen her curriculum, it's unbelievable. We're gonna plug it in here. Having her expertise for how to run an accelerator program and get successful companies coming out the other side, I think is one of the things that we're most excited about. Gail Becker is the president of partnerships at Edelman. She's responsible for venture capital at Edelman. This is a business that's all about storytelling, right? They're the largest public relations agency in the world. That's what they do for their clients. And so when Gail started working with us at Touchdown, she said, virtual reality and augmented reality are essential to the future of Edelman because they're fundamentally storytelling media. And that was one of the reasons why it made sense for us at Touchdown to get involved in this effort. Peter Shoddy is the CEO of Manat Digital Media. I think you can tell just from that name what they're focused on. Pete, there's not a lot of people in the world who are VR experts at this point based on how new the whole industry is. Peter is one of those folks. And Tim Dodd, who is the head of strategy and runs corporate development at Technicolor, really is responsible for the growth and the buying and selling of different parts of that business, including what they're doing in virtual reality. So, who else do we have? We've got some amazing venture capitalists. And so Adam Draper, who I think is the only professional fourth-generation venture capitalist in America, his great-grandfather and grandfather literally were the first venture capitalists on the West Coast in the 1960s. And if you opened up a textbook on VC, you would see his great-grandfather and grandfather's names on the first or second page, guaranteed. And so Adam is the creator of an accelerator down in the Bay Area called Boost Mobile, and he is the second largest investor in venture capital companies in the world. He also invests in another set of technologies called blockchain that's the technical underpinning for what probably everyone here has heard of as Bitcoin. And then Brandon Farwell is a partner in a group called Rothenberg Ventures, which is the #1 most active venture capital firm in virtual reality and augmented reality on the planet. And they're based in San Francisco, and they've even created a group called River Studios that is an accelerator just for producing content. And it was a very interesting discussion with each of these guys when we said we're creating an accelerator and a co-working space in Nevada County, specifically for virtual reality and augmented reality as a focus in addition to other forms of digital media. And both of those guys thought about it for a minute and said, let's see, is this competitive with what I'm doing? And the answer was, no, this is complementary. So they have accelerator students who then graduate and have to go someplace, and they may not be ready to go raise a round of capital and be out on their own. They may come here, or our graduates may go there. And so one of the things that's an opportunity to do with these guys is not only to have them fund our companies, but also to have them share deal flow with us. We have David Fields, who runs venture capital investments for Michael Eisner's Tornante Fund. Tornante, in case you don't speak Italian, stands for crazy hairpin turn, which is what the venture capital world is really like. And then we've got John Goldman, who is a venture partner with Graycroft, which is the second largest venture capital fund in Los Angeles. And John runs a spin-off fund that has not been announced yet that's focused on virtual reality and gaming. He works on the side out of a business that he created called Skybound that works with Robert Kirkman, who's the creator of The Walking Dead, if any of you have seen that television show or read that comic book. We have Rich Hilleman, who has been with Electronic Arts since the very beginning, and every piece of new technology, anything that EA does that's new in technology, it goes through Rich. So he is responsible for virtual reality and is absolutely the perfect person for this. He's an inspiring individual. We have Adam Rockmore, who is here with us today from Fandango. And Adam runs marketing for all of Fandango. And when you think about what their business is and how it's related to movies and filmed entertainment, you can imagine that he has a lot to add for startups in that space. We've got Kayvon Paymani, who runs venture capital until recently at ICM. Kayvon is up to some very interesting new activities that I can't disclose, but he will be a very valuable addition to our board of advisors based on his relationships with all of the major studios in Hollywood. And we have Ajay Singh, who is the person at Samsung who makes investments that's focused on venture capital. Then we have Robin Ward. So United Talent Agency is actually the third largest talent agency in the world, but it is the #1 talent agency in the world for digital media. So if you think about all of the new YouTube businesses that are springing up, United Talent Agency was actually the seed investor in Awesomeness TV, which was sold to DreamWorks. I think Awesomeness just announced they just raised money at something like a $650 million valuation. So that's a business that's continued to grow. And Robin is a specialist in digital media. And we have Heme Watt, who is a venture partner at Upfront, which is the largest venture capital firm in Los Angeles. And Heme is the person there who's responsible for VR investments. And obviously everybody knows John. And this is a picture that I think my wife inserted into the slide deck. This is something she took yesterday. It's a picture of my son. So we've got a couple of startups at home as well. At Touchdown, we think that sort of our special contribution is that we know how to work both with startups as well as with large corporations. And so that's why this is an exciting opportunity for us. So let me tell you about how this is going to be implemented and what the operations of this effort are going to be like. Really, the notion was to create a set of programs that would attract that diverse community. Large companies, startups, people from outside the region, help the people inside the region. Really is a complicated set of factors to manage. And that means that there's a couple different offerings that'll be part of the Green Screen Institute. So an accelerator is the first of those. And an accelerator is a fixed period in time program. In this case, it's going to last for 3 months over the summer. That's designed to educate startups. This is different from an incubator. An incubator is where you create something from scratch within your facility. It's your idea, it's your company, and usually you find someone else to run it and then go take it away. An accelerator is where someone else has already created a startup, they come spend some time with you, and they're further ahead when they leave than when they got there. You're literally accelerating their growth. So that's an educational program with resources, and obviously all these advisors that we've put together are here to help those accelerator businesses. Then there's a co-working lab, and a co-working lab is nothing more than a shared workspace where different organizations all come together to focus on a common theme. So you can imagine bigger companies like Samsung, like Microsoft, like HTC saying, let's take a couple people and maybe stick them someplace that's focused on an activity that is of strategic interest to us. And maybe these are people who might be happier living in a community that has the resources and benefits to offer that Nevada County does. And then lastly, there's going to be educational programming. I think Mary spoke very eloquently about why this is so important, and it's clearly a focus for the Green Screen Institute. And John, I think you even echoed these very sentiments in your comment. There's a lot of people who really want to get out of that, the very, very busy urban life to go create something, whether it's code or content. So the facility itself is really designed to be that retreat, that metaphorical cabin in the woods. And I think all of you have probably read in the paper, sort of here's the address, 104 New Mohawk Road. You can go visit it. It's a cool 2-story building. And it's plenty big to house all of the things that we want to accomplish. So if you can read it, here's a floor plan that shows how it will be laid out with conference rooms. There will be a chroma key room, which if you're not familiar with that particular technology is French for a green screen room, where you can basically pull out the background and insert actors into digital backgrounds. So it's a fundamental technology of filmmaking. There'll be common areas. This will be a really fun environment. There'll be a bullpen where the startups will be working. There'll be an office where John and the ERC team will be set up, and we think this is going to be fantastic. Here's an artist rendering of what it might look like, and we've got a lot to do to get it done. So let's talk about the sequence of events of what's going to happen. Obviously, a lot's happening this month with having announced this last week and the ERC Summit today. Tenant improvements are going to be starting, and we'll be accepting applications for the accelerator class starting at the end of this month on the 29th. Then in July, it gets started, and the accelerator class is getting going. That'll be contemporaneous with the California World Music Fest. So I think, as we talked about creating something for millennials that's fun for them, probably no better way to get started on your 3-month accelerator class than to go to a music festival and have a good time in the first weekend. So we'll be doing that then. We'll be making informal introductions to the advisors, but we're all going to be kicking off with a hardcore curriculum as well. And then in September, at the same time as the Nevada City Film Festival, we'll have the first demo day. And that's usually the culmination of how an accelerator class works, which is you work hard for 3 months, you produce something, and then you show it off. And we'll bring investors up here, not just the investors on the advisory board, but a wider group of investors who are interested in this category. And that'll really be an opportunity to showcase what this community has to offer to outsiders. I think it'll be really exciting. Fall is obviously a really beautiful time here, and it'll be great to see what these companies have produced. So at that point, we'll also have an advisory board meeting where we'll take the pulse of what's happening in this market. Are there trends that we need to be informed of that would affect what we would do in subsequent years? Maybe what types of emphasis we'd have in the class for the following year. We'll evaluate how the first class did. At the same time, we'll also be continuing to develop those relationships with the companies that should be coming in the co-working space as well. So that's the plan. A lot of work has gone into it so far. We're really excited about it. And I guess we probably have maybe 5 minutes to take questions before the basketball players come in. Any questions?
What I was thinking about, like the whole virtual thing, what about like farming and some, the labor work that all of these young children aren't doing like we did, So is there a virtual thing that is actually maybe teaching the generation something about that could like show them a hands-on,
I think so. One of the things that we talk about is how in today's world, how-to is mostly done on YouTube. So I was away on a business trip, and our microwave fell apart, and the grill came off the front. And my wife is pretty hands-on, and so she went on YouTube and she found a video specifically how to repair the type of microwave we had, and then subsequently found out that it lights itself on fire, so we should probably have it swapped out. But what's important about that story is that she learned how to do it on YouTube. And so you can imagine all of these hands-on things can be taught. Vocational training can be improved when you can actually work around it in 3 dimensions. And so I think there's a lot of capability there, whether it's applied to farming in the field, manufacturing, making furniture, anything like that.
I mean, we do watch videos that do stuff like the microwave, this and that, but I'm talking about, actually all of the industries that have gone away for, like, making furniture and upholstery. I mean, the younger generation not participating in any kind of labor.
Yeah, I think there's some risks with this technology. And so, one of them is this something that encourages them to be more and more displaced from the way that we grew up doing things hands-on or communicating with people face-to-face. And, that's a trend that our country and our culture is going to face independent of what technologies like this come along, because that's the direction that we're all moving. So I mean, my personal view, I don't know what the answer to the question is. My personal view as a parent is to try to emphasize those physical things and make sure my children know that there are chores to do and there are physical things, and we have a no screens rule in our house. My kids are only 18 months old, but
We have a question back here,
but,
Scott.
but we do morning chores every day. So other questions?
Morgan Goodwin, Vice Mayor of Truckee. Thinking about Eastern Nevada County, I was just thinking about how this connects, and we do have such an amazing community of photographers, of media producers, and a lot of great things that look good in media on that side of the county as well. Just curious how county-wide your thinking has been on this development.
We're thinking as county-wide as you guys for sure. And when we think about creators who are going to be making immersive content, and we think about resources like the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, I think there's incredible opportunities to go take advantage of what we have here and make some, and this is where maybe the local tourism angle also comes into play too, because we can create some unbelievable immersive pieces of content that can be used to market the region. So I think.
So don't forget Truckee. I heard that loud and clear.
Yeah. No, it's back on that slide that said everybody, including Truckee. Truckee's important. And you guys also have a lot of successful entrepreneurs from the technology industry as well. So it's part of the culture. Other questions? Maybe we have a question up front in the middle here.
Let me see if I can hand this over.
Hi, yes. I'm on the charter council of my old high school, and for a while we're a college preparatory school, so we were trying to focus our students towards four-year colleges, but that just doesn't work for some, and some of them don't want that. So my question is we've been trying to figure out a way to help and engage the students who don't want that. Do you see a way for high schools to work with this or feed into this? And if the answer is yes, who do I talk to about that?
The answer is yes. You talk to John Gregory, and I'm sure he'll meet with you right afterwards. That's the kind of engagement we want. Great. Okay, great. Oh, one more question.
Well, we want everybody across the world to hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it seems, I'm guessing that the success of this is also, how related is it to Spiral's work bringing in broadband?
I think it is related. You need underlying infrastructure to be successful in technology. And, I'm hoping we get that broadband in my office in Los Angeles, because I actually am still a DSL. And it's amazing how frustrating it is when you can't operate at speed. So to have that type of world-class infrastructure here, I think is very related.
And yet you're starting the institute before that's in place, which is why I was kind of curious about counting on it, but it's not there yet.
Well, we can get started now. Yep. Terrific. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Scott. And that puts a wrap on our summit, Nevada County Economic Resource Council's annual summit. So thank you so much for coming. If you're going to the dinner tonight, we'll be over there at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.